And we're live. Welcome to Gordoc's Pub. Where, never mind. The menu is changing. We'll just put it that way. See, the best part is we never have anyone watching right when we start. So,
usually we get one viewer that's right around beginning time.
Right, but it's never like right at the beginning.
Right.
They've probably learned to give us a few moments to get ready.
Adam was here the other day before we even started.
Oh, I know. He was like on it.
Yeah, he was making comments while we were waiting. So, like, anybody can.
Oh, hey, we have a visitor. Welcome to Gordoc's Pub.
Anybody can, as long as they're waiting and they can click on YouTube while they're waiting and type messages in and talk back and forth or whatever. A lot of the comic skaters do that shit when they're waiting for their show.
Oh, yeah?
So they'll be fashionably late or whatever, but they're reading what people are writing in the chat while they're waiting. You're probably giving away state secrets.
Yeah. So what's the idea for tonight?
The idea is to be looser with my sketch.
Okay.
Because really, I'm I wanted to go in and take a look at the stories and refresh my brain on what all the stories were so that I could pick something different, you know. I figured, like, I've drawn man versus man, Conan, like, in a power pose. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty much all been done before, and there's nothing that's not going to be done. I want to find something that feels more like me.
So,
But
again, this is your... Go ahead.
Just decided that instead of trying to do a big elaborate thing like I did last time, I'm going to try to draw much more simple and compositionally.
Okay.
I kind of want to do Thulsa Doom because the real Thulsa Doom is not what James Earl Jones was represented as. He has a skull head, so you might have seen him in a Frazetta painting, but that's the hard thing too, is because a lot of this stuff Frazetta already covered, right? So Frazetta covered, Simon Bisley covered it. There's tons of artists.
Well, I mean, I understand the need to have Conan accurate, but why does whatever he's attempting to do in the image, why does that need to come from the written work?
What?
Well, I mean, if you're trying to use Conan, that's cool. I get that. That's a requirement. But it seems like everything else.
It's a commission. So,
right?
Yeah.
And he wants to see Conan, right?
Yeah, but he's talking about in one of the stories.
Oh, so that I didn't know, that was what I was asking. Like, does it have to come from one of the stories?
Well, I suppose if it was a good enough picture, then he's gonna not mind,
but he'd prefer it from the stories.
Well, yeah, because like that's the first thing he was talking about is like the first thing he thought of was Tower of the Elephant, and like as he was suggesting or saying something about Tower of the Elephant, I was saying like everybody does Tower of the Elephant, you know. So I was looking for another story so that I wasn't going to be doing well. So I just wasn't. I didn't want to approach Conan from Tower of the Elephant. That's all.
Right.
And I'm doing a lot of thinking during this process of how I want to illustrate it, because usually I like to draw semi-realistic, like very realistic, I guess. Which, like, I'll do realism, but I'll do an outline around it or whatever. Because I'm not painting and I'm just doing a drawing for starters. But I've given a lot of thought, like I was saying last time, into what I want to represent and what I want to kind of have fade out.
Yeah.
Like, how much I love muscle tone. That's why I got into drawing in the first place. Love to use muscle tone. But I never really gave thought when I started into focusing on specific muscles or specific poses or whatever. That's what I'm doing now, is trying to find a pose that I like. and unlike the last time or the time before, I'm not really looking up a reference. I mean, I looked through some stuff earlier, but I was also helping somebody else out with some of their artwork. So my focus was on that instead of looking up more on this.
Is that Eli?
Yeah. 是不是？上一是傻，那傻那会儿，看啥？我听到这往前看，我听到这。
Are you telling him, or are you telling me that you're going to tell him?
我听到这往前，我听到这往前。
Are you hearing him?
Well, I can hear him.
我听到这往前，我听到这里说。
He said he went to Dr. Lisa last night.
我听你说，听你说。
Okay.
It wasn't last night. It was yesterday morning. Instead of riding the bus to school, he had a doctor's appointment.
Ah.
Telling you he had a shot, I guess.
1, 2, 3, 4.
You had a shot before?
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh, well, okay, never mind.
I think I completely misinterpreted that.
He said, once you doctor.
Yeah, no, when you said he had a shot, I was just, for some reason, my brain completely skipped, a syringe and needle. It was more
Well,
like,
he's old enough, but he doesn't do that. He does not do
right.
that.
I get it, which is why I mean it's just one of those. That's why it's funny. It's just such a completely wrong interpretation, 100% on my part. It's just like, oh, it's a dumb. I don't know how it ever. It was a dumb thought. That's all there is to it. I'm laughing at the fact that it was a dumb thought. But like there was no reason to interpret it that way. But yet I did.
You've had a good day, I take it?
Well, I mean, today been working. I think I'm being productive. I don't know. We'll see. But feels like I've been productive, sort of.
Well, technically, I didn't ask if you were productive, just if you had a good day.
Well,
They don't necessarily mean the same thing. They could,
Well,
but they don't necessarily.
I generally find that days where I am productive are better. So,
Yeah, it feels like you've done something.
yep. So anyway, yeah. Went to the football game last night and had which was different, very very different, and so we're at this school where my boys go, and they're chanting. You know, the cheerleaders are leading a chant. And their colors are black and red. Okay? So sometimes they chant, "Go Big Red." Sometimes they
You
switch to
can't
their
go black. Well, we know they can't go black because they can never go back.
I was like, do they hear that? Is it just me? So I'm just sitting there and I'm watching and I'm just like, because it's a whole different group and stuff, and so I'm just kind of observing as an outsider, and yeah.
See all those red spots?
Yeah.
They're all burned.
Well, again, you're not supposed to do that.
Dishes?
No. Try to
Well,
make
that's
human
what I was
soup,
doing.
like your wife said.
That's what I was doing, dishes. All of this is burned. That's all sensitive because that's all burned.
I think it's an allergic reaction.
Yeah, it's the hot water.
Or, yeah. I was going to make a misogynistic joke, but,
Yeah, well, that wouldn't work because I've done dishes for a long time now.
Oh, trust me, I've done dishes. I don't normally have to anymore, but I do occasionally. Because generally the rule is if you cook or buy dinner, you don't have to do the dishes. So, since I do a good hunk of the cooking. Although lately my boys have been doing a lot of the cooking. But,
Because they don't have to do dishes.
well, yeah. So. But, yeah, they're good boys.
I think I need to find a model that's built. Because there are no good reference pictures for the poses that I want. trying to do my best to make this seem so you can see what's going on, but
Yeah.
this pencil isn't very dark.
I don't know. I'm not happy with my lighting tonight. I don't know what it is. Just seems darker than usual. And I don't know why.
Your light?
Yeah, my lighting.
Pardon me a second as I get weird.
That's probably why. Yes, there's my warm, sexy glow.
Okay.
Let's see. You see that?
Yep.
All right.
So, which Conan things did you say everyone always does?
The Tower of the Elephant, the Ice Giant's Daughter, Frost Giant's Daughter. Those are two of the most common ones that you'll see.
Okay.
Frost Giant's Daughter usually it's either Conan running with a girl slung over his shoulder, or him fighting two Viking-looking giants. And Tower of the Elephant has a dude that has an elephant's head. Surprise. Spoiler.
Oh, I was looking up different Conan stories. Just so I would have more of an idea of anything, I guess.
Yeah, the trick with the Conan stories is to find stuff that's not Conan pastiches.
So, rogues in the house?
Is that a Howard story?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Then, as long as it's a Howard story, yeah.
That's kind of neat. At some point in time, he fights a primitive ape-like creature named Thack,
Yep.
or kills somebody else by throwing a stool at them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
You don't know what you missed out by not reading Conan's story.
Oh, I may have to give them a look-see, or a better look-see, I guess. Ah, because that just tickles my fancy.
here, have a chair.
Ah.
One thing that's not in Conan's story, but that's pretty much like posed like they are, is he has no arm ring. That's a complete fabrication from Marvel.
Okay.
He wasn't a Viking. So you still haven't seen the whole wide world yet.
Okay.
That is Vincent D'Onofrio playing Robert E. Howard. And Renee Zellweger playing Noveline Price.
Oh, it's on Amazon Prime. Interesting.
It's also on Plex. Interesting.
That is based on the book One Who Walks Alone by Noveline Price. Noveline Price was she was basically Bob Howard's only real love interest. Like, um, he his father was a traveling doctor.
Yeah.
It's like turn of the century, like 1900, early 1900s, because Robert E. Howard was writing his Conan stories in 1920s and 1930s. Actually, might just be 1930. He was really prolific for somebody that was pounding away on a typewriter, an old typewriter. But he took care of his mom. She was ill, and he was really like a method actor as far as writing goes. Everybody just looked at him like he was a weirdo, but he was writing a boxer stories. He'd be walking around town, you know, throwing punches like he was a boxer in training. So you can imagine some of the things he did with Conan. He also was pen pals with H.P. Lovecraft. Both of them were pretty much recluses. But Novelin was bold, and she was looking to meet Robert E. Howard because when she was looking to be a writer.
Yeah.
And Robert E. Howard was one of the only writers in that time period, especially in that area, that was literally making a living from his writing.
That's noveling is, I mean, it's like your parents are forcing you to become a novelist.
Well, yeah, maybe.
I mean, how do you come up with a better name for a female writer or female writer wannabe novelist?
Well, she didn't end up being one, but like she had one of those like moonlighting relationships with him, so they were almost a thing, and like they went on a couple of dates, but like dates for the 20s, not dates for the 80s, 90s, 2000s. Like there wasn't anything actually even like the 60s or 70s. But she ended up not being able to handle his eccentricities, and he was communicating his feelings by communicating the opposite feelings. Some weird stuff. But Vincent D'Onofrio did a good job playing him. Because anybody didn't think he would, right? This is the whole you're the character thing I was talking about. Where
Right.
I don't want to show his face. I want to show him making this stand, and you're right behind it in his point of view. So. So I'm trying to get a guest artist on.
Oh yeah.
That's a tattoo artist from, I want to say he's from Washington,
Yeah.
like state. He's at a convention, or he went to a convention the other day. I invited him to be on. He is an excellent watercolor artist. So I thought it would be interesting to have another artist on that's really good. And I met him through David Finch's channel,
Yeah.
like his YouTube channel. I don't think he's on the server at all, is it? But actually, he's more our age. He's very aligned with what we are.
Yeah.
Like, if he's not dead on for basically you or me, he's pretty close as far as political alignments.
Yeah.
So, not that that matters, because anyone's welcome that wants to come on the show, right? But, I guess what I'm saying is that he would be a good fit. He probably will bring a little bit different of a point of view than just you or I. It's funny, like I was thinking of something similar. To the Rogue story. Like I've read a lot of them, and I have pretty much all of them, but I've read them over years and years, right? So some things I know, some things I have a definite impression of, and some titles are just not there anymore. Like I recognize the title, and that's why I said that's a Robert E. or is that a Robert E. Howard story? Because I thought it was. There are other monsters and shit that he fights, and just depending on the story. Robert E. Howard's stories were somewhat different than the pastiches, though, you know. So the pastiches have basically the comic book. It makes Howard's stories like they're the pastiche stories, but he had a theme, a common theme.
Okay.
And it was savage man versus civilization. Man versus technology, that type of thing.
Yep.
And it shows through a lot of his stories, whereas a lot of the pastiche stories really don't show you that. The angle of the sword blade wrong.
Uh-oh.
Not very much. Just by one end of it. I don't know about you. If it's off just a little bit while I'm trying to draw it, it just doesn't look right.
Yeah.
And I can't finish what I'm doing because it just doesn't look right. Can't skip leg day.
Pardon me?
Said can't skip leg day. Especially on Conan. I guess technically, or Red Cylinder from the movies.
Yeah.
No, what I really should do, and I don't, is I should just watch Conan and pause it and see if I can get some of the angles I've been looking for.
Yeah. Which Conan would you go for?
For me,
Well, there was the Arnold Conan, and then there was the...
well, yeah. Him, Ralph Moeller. Actually, Ralph Moeller, who was Conan the Adventurer, he He's taller than Schwarzenegger, like almost head and shoulders, I think. He's pretty tall, which actually probably would be more accurate for Conan. And they both were bodybuilders.
That's funny. I have never seen that.
What's that?
Ralph Moeller or him as Conan. So that's just interesting.
Yeah, he doesn't have the right hair, of course. Actually, the guy that's closest to having the right hair played one of the bad guys in the original Conan the Barbarian. His name is Sven. Sven Olu, I think. But yeah, his hair in that was pretty close.
How is Conan's hair described again? I keep wanting to say bowl cut.
Square cut mane. So a square cut hairdo would be Prince Valiant, right? Square cut mane is a little bit longer. You picture maybe shoulder length, maybe just drooping down a little bit on his back.
Yeah, I can see why they didn't necessarily go with that.
Oh no, I really can't.
I know you like your purists. And that's okay.
No, it's not just because I'm a purist, even though I am a purist as far as that goes. It's because he's a barbarian and he's not going to go to a fucking hairstylist. He's going to just grab a hunk of shit in front of his eyes and fucking slice it off, which is the square cut. So it's just cutting enough for him to see out of. I think it's more than just purist. I think it's utilitarian. Utilitarian?
Yeah, it'd be utilitarian.
Okay, yeah, so it is function over form. That's like Conan, like even though he's getting some in every comic book or in every story he's in, he's scarred. He's got scars on his face and everything else. Why is he attractive? He's not like super handsome and Fabio or whatever. He's attractive because he's got a very confident personality, stride, ice cold, ice blue eyes, cold gaze that looks right through you, you know. Body laugh. Yeah.
What?
I was I was looking up leg day.
Oh, okay.
I got it. And so Jason Momoa does not fit the bill. Yeah. Not that he has a bad build or whatever, he just doesn't fit Conan's build. He's a little bit smaller than I imagine. But he does look more natural built than, like a weightlifter build. But I think the thing that made Schwarzenegger such a good Conan is because his build, it wasn't like he didn't use machines to get it as much. It was like he wanted his abdomens cut a certain way. He did specific exercises to get it that way, and that just sounds more like what Conan would have done. Now, you watch the movie and he's pushing a giant millstone, but Howard never wrote that. He's been a gladiator, he's been a pirate, he's been a soldier, obviously a barbarian, a thief. I always thought that he was a little bit smaller, like a little bit more athletically built than Powerhouse built, which Momoa would have been.
Yeah.
Because he's a thief, and Howard mentions how lithe he is, and he's got a wolfish grin and a cat-like stride and all that, but he's also head and shoulders pretty much taller than anybody he's fighting with. So, where do you go with that, right?
Yeah. What about Henry Cavill?
I don't think he's much different than Momoa as far as build wise. I mean, I don't even know comparisonly.
I was thinking about him in The Witcher.
Well, yeah, and you're going to see him down in the Highlander as well.
Yeah.
I'm actually looking forward to that. I just hope they pick a bad guy that isn't some scrawny whatever. It has to be. It should be.
Oh, hey, Allison.
There's no has to be, but it should be someone that he is intimidated by and has to overcome some things, right?
Right.
I think that can be done. I think they just missed the boat with the perfect person for the remake.
Oh, yeah?
Because I think Colin Farrell in his day would have been for Highlander.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, like, isn't he Scottish?
I don't
so
know.
It's like pretty true to it. He might be Black Irish. Now that I think about it. And Gerard Butler, Scottish. They missed it by a little bit too, right? Hi, Allison. I heard him say hi to you, but I'm saying hi as well.
I am cautiously optimistic about the Highlander reboot, remake, whatever, and I hope that it does. I mean, I hope it doesn't get ruined or shortchanged or whatever.
if they try to throw it, I don't think they will. I don't think they'll try to throw in any kind of super political bent one way or the other.
I hope not.
Right. I mean, it should be about the quickening and the prize, and there can be only one, and if you just follow that, like,
well, they changed it to there can only be one. So people are bitching about that, but I think that's just stupid.
wait. So instead of there can be only one, it's there can only be one.
Yep. It's the same thing. It's the same meaning. It's just not the same phrasing.
Have to look at this.
At least on the mock-up poster I saw, that's what it was doing.
Only be one. I don't know. And ugh. That I don't mind it. I guess the problem, like grammatically, I don't care, and artistically, I don't really care. I think I
You got some purist problem?
no, because I'm okay with it, except for, I mean, I think I prefer the old one more, but it's not that big of a difference. But I worry about what that means for the reboot in general. Like, if you're gonna mess with, like, that's a core thing. That's like saying, instead of let the force be with you, let you be with the force. It's like, okay, you're really screwing up, or you're not necessarily screwing up.
I don't know if I'd say that. I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, it's not that you're necessarily screwing it up. It's
like,
just
instead
that
of may the force be with you, may you have the force or something like that.
well, whatever.
I don't think it's
the willingness to. It's the willingness to alter one of the core elements, and because it's Hollywood, I'm worried. Hey, Jay said that he had a jiu-jitsu teacher who was an enormous fan of the Highlander.
Well,
aside from the fact that he's, like,
I'd say I'm a fan of the Highlander too, except for the sequels. Or really anything past the first movie, but
yeah, but they're guilty pleasures for me. Like, are they as good as the first one? No, but
they actually fuck up the first one. But
oh yeah, I agree. That's why I kind of like the idea of a reboot, because I enjoyed the concept enough. I would like to see more, I guess. Although sometimes that's one of the problems with their whole thing about there can be only one, is that it's so very limiting for sequels and exploration of the world.
Right, there can only be one.
So it really should be a single. And if it's not going to be a single, it shouldn't be a retcon. It should be something baked into the cake from the beginning. So like having it be cyclical or something. like the like
Yeah, well, you know, that would have made sense with the sequel when you're following Colin the Cloud and he's living forever and he's not really digging living forever because he's trapped in the immortality, right? All the people that you love die and all that. So
right.
And if he's got endless power or whatever. Well, see, I think that's another flaw that they had is that they never really tell you what that power is. It's just the quickening.
Right.
And I don't know if you realize this or not, but the quickening is from the Bible. The quickening is what they talk about in resurrection. And you have to quicken who were dead in trespasses and sin. So he quickened you. He gave life back to you. And so quickened. So when you're talking about the immortals and, you know, stabbing them and them dying and then coming back, the quickening, you know what I mean? that's where it comes from. Is whether or not, you know, whether or not that's where they're going to go with it, explore, or whether or not they want to call it that is where it comes from. And that's why specifically it's in reference to, you know, not dying or being resurrected or coming back to life. Wow, I guess the last one. Not a sponsor.
But it could be.
It should be.
Yeah, I just... It does make me worried when you mess with... Although, I mean, okay, so I'm concerned that they messed with there can be only one.
Hey, man. Like, maybe it will. I don't even know who's directing it or what they directed.
Well, I'm just saying.
I haven't looked at it in a while, but
if you remember Rogue One, and they had Donnie Yen's character, whatever his name was, I'm one of the Force and the Force with me, or something like that, or I'm one of the Force and the Force, yeah, something like that. I mean, he has that. He's not a Jedi, so he has a slightly different phrase, and. You know,
right,
I thought that,
you want to be.
But I thought that was an I think that was an interesting twist. Like that was a change that completely 100% made sense. And so it can work. I question why you would change that. I suppose we'll see.
Why you would change what?
There can be only one, so there can only be one.
No, it's just phrasing. Like most of the, I don't know. I would say most of the audience that are going to go see it are probably not well acquainted with the old one, but I don't know if that would be true.
You're right, it's only phrasing, but then again, why change something that was already working?
Well, because it's different, and they're establishing it's different. Dune was different than what they had established, you know, as far as movies go, and there was some remake into that. Yeah. Not all of it, not even a lot of it, but there was some remake into it.
Yeah.
So. I don't know. Like when I'm looking at it as a fantasy movie, and I think Henry Cavill, because I know he's a geek. I think that he's going to do the role justice as much as he can possibly do, and I think anyone would be hard pressed to convince me he's not going to, because he likes those types of roles. So,
Right. Yeah.
Now, that said, that's
Cautiously
like
optimistic.
that. Yeah, that said, John Bernthal, when he was studying for the Punisher role, he went into a New York comic book company store, and the owner of that store, when he saw John Bernthal picking up those comics and saying, "Well, I'm going to be playing," and he's like, "No, you don't want those comics." And he reached behind the counter and he's like, "You want this one, this one, this one, and this one." And John Bernthal read them, and he warned anyone that was paying attention that it's not going to be true to the comic. I mean, he's going to play it as close as he can, but he knew that they were doing emotional stuff with the Punisher on a level that you shouldn't be doing when you're introducing the Punisher. And he had read enough actual Punisher comics to know that that's not, a lot of people aren't going to consider that the Punisher. I don't think he did that. And Punisher is one of my favorite characters. I think he is the best on-screen Punisher. But as with a lot of the on-screen Punishers, they didn't get very good roles for him. So they either had a stupid ass role, or it wasn't the right guy for the role, or like, this is weird. But have you seen Warzone, Punisher Warzone?
I think
That's the one where
yeah, I've seen it.
so trying to remember his name.
For who? For what?
Punisher.
The guy that played him?
Yeah,
Ray Stevenson.
Ray Stevenson. Thank you. Like the name was right there, but it just didn't want to come out. And I really like some of Ray Stevenson's works. Some of it, but I really do like some of it. I liked him as Dagonet in King Arthur. I liked him. I guess pretty much in is it Black Pearl or Black Sails? Black Sails.
He was in the Ahsoka series.
Yeah, I didn't watch that garbage.
He was part of the best stuff of it.
But if you look at the way they filmed him in Warzone,
Yeah.
he looks almost like Tim Bradstreet drew it. So aesthetically, it was perfect. Not so much on the plot. What I really couldn't stand, and now after having seen him in something else, was the guy that they chose to play Jigsaw, like Dominic West. I didn't think that guy played Jigsaw well. I didn't think he either understood the character or whatever. But when you watch him in 300, he's pretty good Patsy, pretty good villain. But it just, Punisher's pretty much ultimate bad guy as Jigsaw. So they didn't give him, well, I guess they gave Jigsaw all right, but then they had his little brother, the Biter, and it's like, yeah, it kind of takes away from the authenticity of it.
Yeah, Highlander, I think, is one of those properties, though, that, I mean, they never, in the first film, really explain a lot of stuff. And...
Well, yeah, because it was a college project.
Well, that, and they got, if I understand it correctly, from what I understand, there's that, oh, God. There was a Netflix show, there's, at least, I think there's another season either coming out or just came out. And, oh, God. Who originally played Furiosa?
Charlize Theron.
Thank you. Could not think of her name. So, yeah, so Charlize Theron.
Did that thing and go with me. It's nice to be helpful on the other end of it.
Hey, no problem. So the old guard, I think, is actually a little bit closer to what the original concept of the Highlander was supposed to be. Although I never finished that series. It just got boring to me. But
the old guard is a comic book, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it's based on the comic book.
Well, whatever. I'm just telling you. From what I understand, the original concept for the Highlander had a lot less lore and a lot more stuff like the old guard. And then it got changed and revised.
I've seen quite a bit of stuff on it. I haven't seen that.
But it's no matter how you look at the Highlander, it's one of those examples of it makes you want to know more about the lore, which is normally good for sequels and whatnot. But yeah, then it has that, there can be only one, which really makes sequels kind of difficult. And I suppose you can have prequels, which actually kind of works. I mean, I suppose. Or you can start your series back far enough where the final confrontation is still off in the future, like the TV show did, basically.
Supposedly.
Well, I mean, that was kind of the gist, is that they had.
Well, the problem with that is that Colin McLeod appears way before the show Highlander the series. He's appearing in like the 1500s or 1400s or something.
Oh yeah, none of the tie-ins with the films made any sense. Then again, most of the sequels don't make the most sense. So that's why I would like to see a reboot that had a little bit more thought put into it ahead of time, so you don't have to retcon stuff over and over again.
You know what I'd like to see remade?
No? What?
And the great thing about this is they can't do a worse job.
Okay.
The only thing that they can do a worse job in is that there's no Michael Ironside anymore. Scanners, dude. Scanners would be awesome done with modern day effects and modern actors, right? Like,
yeah,
it was such a cheese fest, but it was such a fucking cool horror movie. I'm gonna scan your brain.
Yeah, I could see that being done a hell of a lot better.
Oh yeah, and if you only got some good actors on board,
well,
and there's potential there too, So
some of the story is less than stellar. When they're
that's what I said. You can't do worse.
Yeah,
you just have a cool premise, and that's what you're starting with. So
yeah. If you stick with start with the cool premise, and then that's as far as you take it. Like just take the cool premise and make it
and
work
expand
more
it.
logically.
Do something cool with it.
Well,
Like so if you cross Scanners and Firestarter,
right, that'd be good.
right? That's what I was thinking. Like,
And that's really
you have to change it up a little bit, but you get the same idea where there's a secret experiment, that
right.
created these.
Well, it'd also be nice if the, for want of a better term, the magic system should be a little bit more consistent. Because when they start hacking the computer through the okay, that doesn't really translate. That it just doesn't make sense. Powers start arriving that weren't really mentioned before. I think it should be. That was one of the weakest parts of the film. It's okay, so you can scan a computer now. Right.
Well, it is
The 80s.
called Scanners, and that's the only thing that makes sense when you think about the whole scan your brain thing. Is it's a computer scan, but just with your human computer. I don't think that's changed. It just expanded a little bit. I don't understand why it had the effect it had, but it was a cool effect, So.
Well, that's what I mean. That it doesn't really jive on screen as to causality seems broken because the rules aren't clear, and
Well,
that's
to
a
make the
problem.
rules clearer, I guess, but
That's what I'm saying. I think
it was a memorable enough movie for me to remember it and want to see a remake of it, and other people as well. So there's something to it.
I agree.
That sticks with you. I also would love to see a remake and a more serious version of Dreamscape.
I agree.
Holy shit! It's the agree stream.
Well, so Dreams, that's the one where they it's basically kind of well, I mean,
It's like you can go into other people's dreams and you can kill
Right.
them in their dreams.
so it's kind of like Inception, only way less cerebral. So, I mean, if you really want to get into it, I mean, you could argue that Inception is a reinterpretation of the concept Dreamscape has, or at least Inception is heavily reminiscent or resonant with Dreamscape. But yeah,
I didn't read it as much, so I can't tell you much about the DiCaprio one you're just talking about. My brain's not there.
Inception.
Yeah. Well, so it's to me it's just a sci-fi heist movie.
It is,
So
and that's what I mean by it's a.
whereas the other one is more of a sci-fi spy thriller or assassin movie.
Yeah,
And
and
it's the premise being different that interests me more. So
okay.
one might have been inspired by the other, but I think that would also be true of What Dreams May Come or something.
Okay.
I think they're separate entities. I'm not saying that Inception is bad. I'm just saying that I don't think it's the same. Either that or maybe maybe a better way to put it would be it's a different crime in the same realm.
Yeah, it's conceptually, if I said, okay, which one is the movie where you can get inside other people's dreams? It's both films, but execution of the concept is wildly different in both. And yeah, you're right. One is more heist and one is more spy thriller, but those aren't wildly different story types. And and again, you don't have to. I mean,
well, yeah, they could be, but then I don't know if there are there, but they definitely could be quite different in story type. Like you don't have to, show the. I don't know. Did they show the plan in Inception?
Yeah,
I haven't seen it in a long time. Did they show the build up and what the plan was, or did they just kind of start off in that realm and then kind of bounce around, setting it up?
Well,
it's been a long time since I've seen it, so I'm trying to be fair to it.
They have the part where they explain going into people's dreams, and they have to explain the various experts that go into it. And yeah, they set up what the original plan is before they do it. I mean, it's a pretty straightforward group heist film.
Like I said, it's been a long time since I've seen it, so.
Oh, that's fine. I
probably shouldn't even comment on it because, I do have some memories from it, but they're all visual, really. I mean, I know that it was a heist thing, but that's pretty much all I got.
I think one of the how do I put this? I think one of the
I like this
challenges
best of all so far.
The Christopher Nolan style often, to me, seems like he overly complicates things sometimes. But he's dealing with, and normally it's because he's dealing with issues of time. And that's why the Batman films actually work better, because he wasn't dealing with any of that. And so they're easier to digest, I guess. So, when Christopher Nolan released Tenet, I was watching Tenet and I was like, oh, this is a James Bond film. And that's all that it is. It's just a James Bond film.
Haven't seen it.
Well, trust me. I mean, you don't have to trust me. I enjoy the film.
Well, if it's a James Bond film, I guess I'll check it out. I may have seen it and not realize it,
Here's the thing. It's a James Bond film taken to a level that James Bond never attempted. I guess Moonraker, in a way, might be the best comparison, even though Moonraker is not as good as Tenet. But you know how there are always gadgets and there's always some kind of technology and there's normally some kind of doomsday device in a James Bond film? Well, the doomsday device is based on time travel. And so you have forwards and backwards time. I mean, it gets complicated. But when you break it all down, it's really just a James Bond film. And that's kind of what I think about Christopher Nolan. A lot of this stuff is he takes a relatively basic concept or genre or, I guess, inspiration piece like James Bond, which Christopher Nolan, I believe, has said he's a fan of. And then he just tends to make it super complicated on some level.
And I'm not saying that the complications aren't necessary. I mean, you look at Interstellar, time is a huge thing in that movie, and it's incredibly important. Inception has issues with time. And then, yeah, Tenet, obviously, because it's a time travel film. Christopher Nolan's take on it is just, it's difficult to digest. But it's it's also entertaining for a lot of people. So it's kind of like a spicy food of the mind. It's for people who like the heat. It's great. And if you don't like the heat as much, it's not for you. But they're generally, just really complicated extrapolations based off of basic ideas, or ideas that aren't actually original.
Have you seen Moulin Rouge?
Yeah.
Do you remember how they explain what oh crap. My brain's not working tonight. What kind of movie is Moulin Rouge?
It's a musical.
Musical. They explain what a musical is. Do you remember that part?
No.
So a musical tells you the story up front in a short snippet, and then for the rest of the movie, it shows you in a long version.
Oh, okay.
So why that's relevant to me is because when you're talking about Christopher Nolan's process, or what you're extrapolating his process is, that's exactly what it sounds like. You come up with a simple concept, and then you complicate it.
Well,
like if you watch Moulin Rouge, I think it's John Leguizamo that explains that part. It might not be. It might be Ewan McGregor, but I thought it was being explained to Ewan McGregor. I just thought you'd find that interesting comparison.
I do find that an interesting comparison. In fact, I find it's actually very poetic. I mean, the idea that Christopher Nolan is creating a kind of musical without music.
Well, I don't know if it would be without music, but without song and dance, right?
Okay.
Well, so replace song and dance with spectacle. But he's not relying on the spectacle. He's using that spectacle to lengthen out the story.
Or to help explain the concept.
Which would kind of be the same thing. I mean, I'm not explaining why he's lengthening it out. That's the motivation. I'm just saying, it's interesting. It's an interesting comparison.
Yeah, that's kind of fun. Huh. Well, there you go, Rich. I think we figured out our hook for a writing technique that we can try to sell.
Uh-oh.
Well, we can call it the music. Yeah, the musical method or something, or the Music Man method. Sure, that sounds even better. And then,
you call it the Kolinsky method.
Okay.
And then, so you don't know what that's in reference to. That's okay. That's uh, names tonight. Michael Douglas's comedy on Netflix or something like that. It's called The Kolinsky Method, and he's supposed to be an old acting teacher teaching his method. But it's like him and Alan arguing. No, it's great to watch. It's all fucked up.
Well, I just, you know how there's a certain writer we know that seems to be making more of his career out of helping other people to write than he does from actually writing.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Thin Air. The next one. Right.
Yeah, well, and how there seems to be kind of a market or like for writers to make money by teaching others how to be writers. And in fact, a lot of times when they talk about social media presence, it's about, YouTube videos and stuff, and that's why you can find a ton of them.
It's an interesting point, and I've seen a lot of best-selling authors are really only best-selling authors of how to write books.
Right, exactly.
How to write and sell best-selling books.
Yeah.
But the only book that they've written that's best-selling is the book on writing books.
Right. So, yeah, that's so. This Music Man method that can be ours. We'll figure it out. It's got a nice alliterative name. Who cares? It's a rehash of other people's work.
Isn't all stories some kind of rehash of something else someone did?
Yes, every book is just the remix of the dictionary.
Yeah, it's a remix.
But it's an interesting observation, and then, yeah, if you, I don't know, it might be kind of interesting to kind of look at as a method or as a structure, maybe that isn't necessarily used all the time.
I think we'd have to see if it works.
Right, but still something to think about.
So my daughter shows me that somebody who stopped in where she works grabbed her name, and because he liked the way that her name was,
yeah,
and used it in a book. And so he gave her an advanced reader's copy of the book. So because I'm her dad, I checked up on this writer to see who he was, because on the back of the book it's like prolific writer and all this, right? He's got 9 self-published books out. The most extensive reviewed one has 16 reviews.
Yeah.
Every single one of the rest of them have 2. So I take it he's more of a hobbyist writer than a serious writer.
Well, it might be serious, but it's
Claims
not how he's making his money.
Well, he claims to be historical fiction, so I grabbed, he has a tetralogy, a 4-book series.
Yeah.
That's historical fiction, and so I picked it up and started reading it, and I didn't buy it, I just was reading the first pages on Amazon, because that's where he's published, on Amazon. And so his historical fiction, he's starting off in a contemporary time and looking through manuscripts, and then chapter 1 is reading the manuscript, I guess. And it starts off with somebody in the French and Indian War that saw death in the French and Indian War and ends up puking on the shell-battered ground. So I'm a historical fiction author and an avid historical fiction reader. And I know that they didn't use shells because they were still using cannons 30 years later. They were using cannonballs 30 years later in the Revolution and such up until at least the early 1800s in the Napoleonic War. And I found that somebody had said that when you find a problem in the first 13, generally the reason that you're looking for that problem in the first 13 is because it echoes throughout the book. So I noticed that that's kind of true in this case. And I'm guessing that he just writes and publishes and writes his own stuff to publish his own stuff. And it's mostly family and friends that pick up a copy. But that's not a prolific author. That's kind of misleading, right?
Yeah, it's a positive spin. I mean, prolific is a weasel word. It can be used all kinds of different ways.
Yeah, generally it means it's a lot of output, right?
Well, he's got more books than me.
Well, what do you define as a book? What's the length of a book in your definition, and what's the length of a book in his definition?
Yeah, I've noticed people doing that too.
Yep, and so I guess that was broaching this particular subject, as I'm saying that I also know of an author who, now I've seen this a couple of times from the same author saying, oh, he loves waking up to see he's a best-selling author. Okay, well, not New York Times best-selling author, not London Times best-selling author, not even USA Today best-selling author. You know what he is? He's an Amazon best-selling author, which means that he can hold that position for exactly 15 minutes. Because every 15 minutes, those subcategories change. This is the author that was bragging about being a best-selling author, #1 best-selling author. But the category was archery, and the story had one archer in it, and it wasn't about archer. So, that was misleading. And for him to say he's a best-selling author, it's also misleading because he's an Amazon best-selling author, and it's not even in the category that he publishes, because he claims to be a historical fiction author, and it was a best-selling archery book, which is not archery fiction, just archery, right?
Yeah.
He's done that on other subjects too. So this all comes around to something, believe it or not. It would be disingenuous for us to sell the Music Man method without actually knowing the Music Man method works.
Oh, well, yeah, I agree, but
because of those reasons that I stated in this roundabout, that I wouldn't feel honest if I'm selling a method that I just, like Scientology, a method that I just made up by, talking to other people in the field and giving their opinion.
and then maybe bastardizing one of their concepts. I'm just saying, as I understand certain exercises that some authors like to push.
Not the author that created Scientology, just to make that clear.
Yeah, different author. I'm just saying, you know, when you bastardize someone else's concept because it sounds cool.
Yeah, the thing about the Scientology is that my information is from wait a second. We sued to be on Terminator. The most litigious.
Harlan Ellison.
Harlan Ellison, yes. So Harlan Ellison is among sci-fi authors that said that he was at the convention that L. Ron Hubbard started creating Scientology, Dianetics before Scientology. And he said he was going around to all the booths of the sci-fi writers and saying, if you were going to start your own religion, what would you do? How would you do it? You know, so it is. Scientology is basically a science fiction religion.
Yeah. And I mean, just the phrase "going clear" just sounds awesome. Like, I'm not making any comments about someone else's religion per se. Like, I don't want to. I know my faith, and Scientology doesn't fit into it. But you know, you don't need to believe as I do. So I'm not trying to say anything like that. But I am going to say, from just an artistic standpoint, the phrase "going clear" just is a great phrase. It's the kind of thing I would use in my fiction. It's just awesome. You know, it's like sometimes there are phrases or terms that people come up with that I just, like, you just get jealous. Like Blade Runner. Blade Runner is an amazing word, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Two.
What?
I think it's actually 2 words.
Okay, well, if it's
an amazing title.
It's at least a compound noun, and
okay.
Well, it is. I mean, because if it's 2 words, making it, then it's not like they have other runners.
Creation of Ridley Scott, by the way.
Yeah.
It wasn't actually Philip K. Dick's creation.
Right. Oh, trust me, it was hard to find this book because I was looking for "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep" and couldn't find it. All I could find was Blade Runner, and I was like, "Oh, I mean, okay," because I didn't want the movie adaptation, which is what I thought it was, and I didn't find out until later that no, the publishers just started publishing it as Blade Runner.
Yeah, because it's marketable.
Yeah, because it's an awesome.
It makes total sense, you know.
Well, I mean, from a marketing perspective, it doesn't make any sense story wise. What? Why are like it just? I mean, it sounds cool, but it doesn't make any sense.
Well, it makes sense marketing wise because it's already sold. That's what I was saying. Like, it makes sense to change it to that name. And I don't know, the last time I saw it, I thought that it didn't say that it was Blade Runner. It said in small print the book Great Blade Runner with big print was based on, or something like that. It was really funky the last time I saw it, but I haven't looked for it in a long time. So,
well, whatever. But you know, and I can 100% tell you if I saw two titles and had no idea other than the titles, and one was "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep" versus Blade Runner, I'm probably picking up Blade Runner first. So, like, it's just a great term. It's just like going clear. I mean, it sounds neat. So, not that I want to attempt to go clear. Please don't contact me saying,
I don't even know what that means. So,
oh, it's part of Scientology. You're supposed to, going clear. That's a goal.
Okay.
So, yeah, if you there's that.
I know very little bits about Scientology, and I'm happy with what I know.
Yes, that's true. I know enough. I don't need to know more. I promise.
I don't care what anybody, like if that's their religion, whatever, that's their thing.
That's right.
I'm not gonna tell them what to and not to believe.
Exactly. I'm not either.
If they ask me what I believe, then I'll tell them. But
right.
It's definitely not that.
Yes, I've looked into it enough to know. Nope, not for me. That's okay. Because sometimes it's. I mean, I know what my faith is. Don't get me wrong, but I'm confident enough in my faith that I can look at other faiths as a scholarly pursuit, and I'm also willing to say that I would be open, I guess, to changing my beliefs, but it would be a really, really hard sell. Like, I believe in the free market of ideas, and therefore, I can recognize that my faith could be wrong, or it could be based on bad data or something. But until you can prove that or show me something better,
you have a hard time convincing me to change my religion.
Yeah.
I'm not going to change my religion. Because my religion is not a non-religion. It's a non-denomination. It is not a man-made thing. It's a...
Yeah, well, it would be really hard, and I think it should be really hard to change my beliefs, but so I don't see it ever happening. But I hold out that there is a possibility. It's one of those things that I want to. The odds of me doing this is 1 in a billion. And you say, oh, so there's a chance, and it's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I guess that's, to me, faith is without a doubt. So if you hold out a doubt, you don't have true faith. Like, I'm not condemning you, by the way. I'm just saying that's for me.
Well, for me, I think that faith that isn't examined and
well, if you examine it, it's not faith.
Well, I would not agree with that, Steve. That's okay.
Yep, I think this is the one I like.
Good. By the way, I got quiet not because I was thinking about what you said, basically. So I was
Hey, I'm really
digesting.
not trying to dictate anything.
Oh, I understand. I not a problem.
I believe that faith is believing without doubt, and like I know Christ said, if you have the faith in the amount that'll fit fit into a mustard seed, you can move mountains. So, like, I can't imagine like the discussions of doubting Thomas and all that to be like, oh, you're open to believe something different. Now, like, not wanting to start any argument, you didn't say that you're open to believe something other than Christianity, though I don't know if that's implied there as well.
So
okay. That's not for me. I'm Christian, and to
well,
deny Christ, he will deny you. So
that's what I believe to be the reality of the situation. But here's why I don't. Faith without any doubt, to me, is a type of command, and as I understand the Bible, we're given free will so that we can choose, and we base that choice on faith. But if there was never any choice at all, then free will was a lie, and I don't think that's where it is. And I think the choice is something that is valued by God, because you could choose otherwise. Whereas, and when it comes to it, like look at gravity or something, it's, I don't care what you choose, you're going to be pulled towards something. Like it's a law. Your faith in gravity doesn't matter in any way, shape, or form. And not like my faith creates God, because I don't think it does. But I think that this plane of existence is set up as somewhat of a test, and you got to choose. And if there's no doubt, it was never a choice. So when I say that I'm pretty confirmed in my beliefs, it's because the choice has been made. But every choice should be based on some reasoning, and that's why we're given reason, the ability to reason. And part of reasoning is acknowledging that you could be wrong. I have the faith that in my decision that says I'm not wrong, but I accept the fact that I don't know everything, so I could be wrong. Or think of it like this. Jesus was a Jew, and
he was half a Jew.
So accurate. And I've never heard it put that way. Except for Jewish lineage is traced through the mother. So, anyway, so that's just.
You know that's flawed when you get to Ruth, right?
Oh, that's
Because Ruth wasn't Jewish.
Oh, it's such a. I mean, that's just funny. But anyway, but you know the Jews have belief in God. They don't have, but they choose not to recognize Christ, and I think that's kind of the problem. It's also why
they don't recognize He's the Messiah.
Right. So, in a way, I feel like their faith has led them to the wrong conclusion. And if it could happen to them, it could happen to me. But I can't. Recognizing that it could happen doesn't mean necessarily that I worry about it a lot. Or, you know, again, I feel like my faith is strong enough that I don't think anyone's going to talk me out of it. And my faith is good enough to say I would never want my faith challenged, because I think that's that would be offensive to God, to ask to have your faith challenged. I find that, I don't like that idea. I don't mind if humans want to challenge me. That's fine. But just a blanket, my faith can withstand anything, is a really bad idea. I don't think you should say those kinds of things. You should not bring that kind of energy to your life. It's like, you know, they always talk about, you know, God doesn't give you anything more than what you can handle. And that's one of those things where it's like, could maybe you think I can handle less?
Sometimes knows you're tougher than you know.
Yeah, I was just like, are you sure about this?
It doesn't mean you can't handle it. It just means it ain't going to be easy.
Right. Yeah, but there are plenty of times where it's like, I'm not going to invite more of that kind of thing into my life. You know, discussing scripture and stuff like that, that to me is about spreading the gospel. And you have to be prepared to have stuff challenged. And I think a good faith discussion about scripture or faith, if you don't have, if there's no possibility of converting on either side, there's really no reason to have the discussion. So. And I'm not saying I'm right, or that it's the right, or that it's the only answer. I guess it's just the best answer I have for me. So I think that's another problem a lot of people get into. They like to think there's only one answer, and normally it's like, nah, there can be more than one.
No, there can't.
Then how can you have competing ideas?
There can be only one.
There can only be one, right? There can be only one. There can only be one. I suppose that'll put a nice little divide in the fandom. You know, there will be those that say there can be only one, and there will be others that say There can only be one, and you'll know which. It's like a secret code word that lets people.
I think they're going to be a divide in the purists or not, but I haven't noticed any single person that's bothered by the rephrasing saying, "I'm not going to go watch it."
I'm not.
So
I'm not offended by the rephrasing. I'm worried about what it suggests about their willingness and desire to change core elements that I really enjoyed.
Well, I'm not saying that anybody is worried about anything really. I'm just saying that there's nobody that I've seen that's heard that rephrasing that's been like, oh, I'm not going to go see it. They changed the phrasing. You know what I mean?
Okay, well that's good.
I haven't heard anybody that was like that upset about it. So now I think that there'll be purists that'll be like, oh, that's just stupid or whatever. Like, I don't care either way because it says the same thing. It just doesn't say it in this cryptic of a manner. And I'm a historical guy where I usually like kind of that to be sound, not anachronistic. But I don't know if that was a correct phrasing in the beginning. Just everybody accepted it because it was a cool idea. So I don't know. Like, I'm not overly invested in either end of it, but I have not seen anyone say I'm not going to go see it because if they change this phrasing, then they're guaranteed to fuck it up. Like, I do have high hopes for it because they've got a name actor, like they're not doing it with some new actors on the scene. They're doing it with somebody that's established to draw a crowd and someone that's known for, being as true as he can to the characters. So, I mean, I think, in my opinion, that goes a long way. You know what I mean? That they're giving it the best chance they can from the sounds of it to me. Like, it could be different. I could be wrong. Definitely could be wrong. I've been wrong many times before. I generally think that I'm wrong every time I open my mouth until somebody proves that I'm not. But I haven't noticed anyone making that a sticking point.
Well, I mean, first time I heard of it was from you. So.
Right. Obviously, but you weren't like, oh, well, now I'm not going to go see it.
Well, yeah,
After that, you were like, well, I have cautious hopes.
I do. Well, that's because, like the Dark Tower film, which I enjoyed, but it was barely the Dark Tower, and really didn't do the source material. What?
Oh, I'm just saying, technically that wasn't a remake.
Right, I know that.
The Dark Tower.
It had
a remake of the book, but
it had, Matthew McConaughey and Idris Elba. I mean, these are some good actors, and I, major studio, and
but they are not. I don't know.
Well, I agree. I'm just saying, Hollywood.
I think Matthew McConaughey is a good actor only in certain types of films, really. I haven't seen him be excellent in all types of films, but that's also a smaller matter.
I'm just saying, it wasn't like they didn't have they had the ingredients for something good, something really good, and they came out with something
that was okay. That was the best it got. So, you know, I worry. Oh God, that's like I saw an AI generated thing that I'm pretty certain it was AI generated, and I'm pretty certain it was complete BS. But it was
AI.
Well, so it was like a Disney Plus announcement, supposedly announcing Revan, and it was a chick. I was like, oh yeah, I could see that happening, but I don't think it is. But that's the kind of thing I'm always cautious about. Would I like to see a Revan?
What?
Huh?
Announcing what?
Revan. Do you not know who Revan is? It's okay if you don't. It's
maybe.
Well, Revan was from the best Star Wars video game of all time.
No, I wouldn't know.
He's a character from Knights of the Old Republic, which is a phenomenal game. It's great story. Has nothing to do with the Skywalkers. Like, it was just good. And you play so the you have the Jedi and they're fighting the Sith, and and they're losing, and then this guy Revan comes along, and he's got an apprentice and all this stuff, and I mean it's just a fun storyline, and a lot of fans want to see more Revan. So, I think Disney Plus would do well to make a Revan show, but they also I wanted an Obi-Wan Kenobi show. They screwed that up.
Yeah, that's all they're gonna do.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, so it's one of those things where I want to see a Highlander movie. I want to see Henry Cavill give it a shot. But until I see it, the most I will say is I'm cautiously optimistic, because they can screw up anything.
And often do.
Yeah. They also knock it out of the park enough that I, can't stop going. So, in a way, it's like chasing the dragon. Always wanting to feel that kind of excitement of a good film. Hey, what's your favorite Indiana Jones film?
I would say the first one, with the caveat that I like the Sean Connery one too.
Yeah.
A lot.
I
like things about almost all of them, but
okay.
Those are the two. Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then no, this is the other one. Brain dead right now.
Oh my God, what is that one? The third one.
Last Crusade?
Last Crusade, yeah. Helps when I start saying the name, because it just rolls off the tongue. So, yeah, my favorite is the third one.
Last Crusade, right?
Yeah. One. That's my favorite one. I think, for me, the ending of that one is much more dependent upon Indiana Jones than the first two. Um, so there's that, and plus it's got Sean Connery, and I don't know. I thought that's the one where they really, really fine-tuned all the good stuff that came from the first two films. So I know a lot of people like the first one better. I don't know. I just I don't know why I don't like that one as much. I don't know. Maybe it's because I was older. Because Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, I saw in theaters, but I mean, I was young. When did that come out?
Oh, maybe
1981?
Yeah, I was going to say 82, so pretty close.
So, yeah. And,
yeah, it was perfect for me.
well, I probably saw it when I was 4.
Yeah, and I saw it when I was 10, so
Yeah.
perfect age to watch that type of movie.
So, yeah, versus, for me, 89, yeah, I would have been 11 or 12. So, yeah, that might be something to it. Interesting. Okay. I forget where I was going with that. I had a thought.
You asked me what my favorite Indiana Jones movie was, so you probably were on some track at that point.
Yeah, I know, but what that track was has now escaped me because neither one of us are having the best mental night.
You're right.
Yeah, oh well.
I definitely ain't, but I'm much better than I was when we started the broadcast. I'm actually a lot happier with this composition too.
Yeah.
And the plan is to do it as a painting pretty much the size of my last painting. So,
I've seen Conan use more than one weapon before.
yeah,
So,
he fights with his body, not with a particular weapon.
so the only reason why I ask is because, like, I Googled stuff, so I got, a summary of stuff. And,
Axes and
right. Well, I'm just saying because
gladiators, rapiers.
the ape-like creature in the back, and he wanted it from a story. And it's like, well, are you sure that's the weapon that he used? I mean, I don't know. I have no idea.
That's true. Like I might have to change the weapon.
So
I'll talk to the person.
right, that's the other thing though, because he wants a Conan inspired piece. No, it's not even inspired. He wants a Conan picture. He wants a picture of Conan.
It's a Conan commission. It's just
right. So he might want a sword.
Well, it's more commonly thought of that Conan's wielding a sword, and
right.
I don't know of a story at all that he doesn't wield one at least once in the story. I would be really surprised to find out that there was no sword in the story. Of course, I haven't read it in a while, but I seem to remember seeing some other artwork on this particular pail. Fucking burns. Those are burns, people. Look, I drove everyone away.
That's because you and your ET man there.
What?
It glows red at the end. But anyway.
What?
Nothing. Don't worry about it. As I die. Let me just mute myself as I hack up along the
Well, I didn't hear what you were saying, so I'm like,
Well, because the tip of your finger is red. So I call it an ET finger.
Ah.
Because, you know, his glowed that red color. I mean, it turned white, but it was red around the edges. Whatever.
Actually, it was orange, but I accept
Okay.
what you're trying to say. But I accept what you're trying to say.
Then I decided to choke on my own spit for a while, because...
Oh, I did that the other night with gum. Crap. Well, maybe I'll do studs. Studs are the answer. Or maybe the whole thing. With some kind of jewelry. I actually almost wish that he'd have asked me to do his own character. Because I've got a couple of sketches on for a cover that I was doing for him for a book that he changed the cover because there was someone else that was doing it with him, and they didn't like some aspect of the cover, but I kind of really did. So I'd like to finish it out someday. But the problem is that it's not my character. Yeah, when we started the stream, Gabby live relations weren't good either. On top of everything else. I've always liked John Buscema's hilts. His grapes.
Oh, yeah.
Always kind of oval shaped a little bit. With flare in the middle. And I don't know if that was an intentional thing or just worked out that way when he drew, but he kind of ruined me for anything else as far as grips on Conan swords. Like, I suppose I could draw a more realistic grip, but I would want to. We've almost got it so that it's a wire wrap hilt and all that. So, does it say anything about it not being this?
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't looking. I don't know if I have it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, again, I can see a plot summary. Hold on. Like, I'm not reading the thing because I don't know where. Oh, I might know a place where I might be able to find it. But,
I'm pretty sure I have a book upstairs. Anyway.
It seems
It's
like
a short story because he only wrote one novel, and that was Hour of the Dragon.
Right. And it seems kind of all over the place, I gotta tell you. But okay, so if it's rogues in the house, it says hand-to-hand combat, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would be with Zeva's version.
The Shadows in the Moonlight or Iron Shadows in the Moon, because I think it was written as both. There's an ape there. Apparently he doesn't like apes. I don't know. And pirates and yeah.
Yeah, because Zeva did it with a knife. It's actually kind of cool that I'm doing like the opposite angle. I might have to find something different, but I like this. Oh, that's interesting. I just found something here.
What's that?
I will tell you when we are not streaming.
Okay.
And here is Zeva's. So I'm doing the opposite angle of Conan.
Hold on a second. Leave that up. So,
Okay.
well, I want to move that to a bigger screen so I can see
Oh,
better.
for you?
Yeah.
Well, just look up for Zeta Rogues in the.
Well, I can see it now, and that's. Yeah, I mean, sort of. Are you gonna put a cape on him?
No.
Well, then I would say it's different. Although, hey, there's that
Oh,
shield.
It's different all the way around, really. And like, well, yeah. So, there's a shield in the fantasy painting.
No, I'm not saying anything. I'm saying, it's like you drew a shield. They've got shields.
Well, I'm saying that's common in the fantasy painting, dude. That was what the facetiousness was about. That's not an uncommon element. It just makes it a fantasy painting, right? Or
Yeah, but
historical.
there are lots of different types of shields too, though. And you chose one that,
Mine's rounder.
yeah, which I
This
think
is
makes
more
sense.
outlawed.
Yeah. Going back to my normal screen,
So it looks normal when I look in the camera.
Yeah,
My head-
well, I don't know. Like I said, I'll scan this drawing in when I get it. I think it's. This is a hard angle for me. I do this all the time. Like, you can't see his other leg from this angle. Well, I think maybe there's going to be some mist or something. And we'll do the classic comic book covering up the feet thing.
Oh,
You want to see this? You want to see me do this stuff too often?
I blew up your screen because I'm eating a late night snack or a night snack. It's not really late, but whatever. My son made a
I
roast.
might actually, by default, do some mist in the back.
Yeah.
That'd be the unifying element.
That's fun.
What's that?
I said that's fun. Well, one of the things that I was looking at with the Shadows in the Moonlight thing, or whatever it's called, Iron Shadows in the Moon, however it's pronounced, or however it was published. Yeah. So it's both Shadows in the Moonlight or Iron Shadows in the Moon, whatever. And so it was set on a island, and I thought you kind of liked more of the jungly type ruins and stuff that, all right, this might work. So.
Well, yeah, like if I'm doing backgrounds or something, and I don't know, like this isn't planned for an extensive background and all that. It's planned to be a painting the size of the last one I did, so it's not much bigger than a piece of copy paper. So
yeah.
I might be able to put some, trees or something in the background, but. I suppose I could technically put some mountains in there or whatever. But... I'm gonna, like I said, I was gonna look through the stories before, except for I helped somebody out and it took some time to help them out because I was doing a draw over on my digital system, but. I don't have my tablet monitor, so I don't have the tools to do it properly. So I'm actually doing a draw over with my clumsy ass fingers, and then. Using my mouse to erase or, darken some stuff. I think this is actually pretty good.
Okay. I like it.
Well, there's one person that really, really matters whether or not they like it.
The person paying for it?
Yeah, the person that already paid for it.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, like he paid for it a while ago because I was having some issues, and we both know who this person is. He's an editor that we sell to.
Right.
Uh, I actually talked to him about buying that possible giveaway painting.
Yeah.
He had already paid for it, and I just finished that, and it's simple, but it would look like a pretty good cover because it was intended to be a cover. So like, he's got horror anthologies, so I was like, that would be a pretty awesome horror anthology cover. And he's like, I was kind of hoping to do something like Conan. I'm like, well, why didn't you say so? I've been asking you for a while, and he's like, oh, I don't know what I want to do, and he really did know what he wanted to do, he just didn't say anything. So, I mean, this will have more character than that, as far as, not character, but more going on in it than just one person holding their hands up, but
Cool.
I think I can play around with that and have a really good Conan look, and I'm really, really, really trying to not do every little detail, and that's kind of hard when you're used to drawing for all the details you can get.
Right.
So I'm really having to make decisions that I wouldn't have normally made. So like, I'm trying to talk him into putting that as a cover for horror anthology, because that would be an awesome cover for a horror anthology.
I agree.
I think it would sell it, but that's me. I'm a little biased,
A little bit.
because I think it would be a kick-ass cover whether or not I did it or not. But this, I think, would be a pretty good Conan piece. I'll just find some reference. It's funny, like, I didn't use any references really at all on this. It was just, this is all kind of gestural. Like, it's has movement, has motion, has you can follow it in. The line goes, here.
Yeah.
There's actually some triangles in there. There's some triangle motifs. That actually might be a good idea to put some mountains back here to keep with that triangle motif. What I'm doing now is kind of planning out for other kinds of contrast. The soft fur or the hairy versus the harder rock, and shadow versus the white red. I can use some jungle foliage in there. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's pretty much it. This one worked a lot quicker because I wasn't worried about being, dead on for anything. And remember, I was trying to keep it as a composition sketch, really, so that I can build off of it later on. But I could probably just ink it right there and make it something. But yeah, we'll take it to the next step next time, right?
Sweet.
And we'll put it on board and then do the painting. And then we'll get back to the comic.
Sweet. All right.
All right.
Well,
So, and I forgot what I was going to tell you after.
whatever you just learned. So,
Well,
I learned nothing. I refuse to. No.
I don't remember what that was now. So it was.
That's fine. So, thanks everyone who commented. So, Allison, Jay, thanks for showing. And anyone who watched, I hope you enjoyed the content. And if you do like the content, please remember to like, subscribe, follow, ring the bell, do the dig. I don't know, whatever it is. So,
Yeah, comment.
Yeah.
Even if it's after the video, comment.
That's true.
We will see video or comments on the videos aside from it, and we may pick a subject that you've mentioned, and we definitely appreciate knowing what you think of the content and what you think we could do better.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Good night. God bless. Much love.
Peace.